Hello. I wanted to reach out and connect with you because of the recent market volatility to share some insights on how we're thinking about the recent developments in the global markets and in particular, how we can navigate some of these turbulent headlines that are coming across with a strategic and resilient approach. I know the headlines in the news have been very top of mind these days, especially after the US president confirmed tariffs on Canadian and Mexican imports starting in early March. So first of all, what are tariffs and what are their impact? Tariffs are essentially taxes on imported goods designed to protect domestic industries and generate government revenue. While they can provide some short-term advantages to that domestic government, they often lead to higher consumer prices, reduced trade, and economic inefficiencies in the long run. So for example, in a recent report, the Bank of Canada highlighted the effect of tariffs on the process of making a car. So to illustrate that, let me show you an image. Think of car parts and their components of motor vehicles which cross the Canada border to the US several times. If these components were taxed each time, it would amplify the cost of producing them and increases the prices that you and I, consumers, pay on both sides of the border. And while we don't directly own automakers in our main client investment portfolios, this hopefully provides an example of how tariffs can affect companies like Ford or GM. Now, viewing this economic situation through the lens of an economic theory called the prisoner's dilemma, both the US and Canada face a choice between cooperating and maintaining free trade or defection and imposing tariffs, which ultimately leads to potential mutual harm. While the imposition of tariffs creates immediate chaos, it's crucial to understand that mutual cooperation could yield significantly better outcomes. And the final step may involve a renegotiation of the Canada-US Free Trade Agreement, with some carve-outs on the table. So why are markets so volatile? Well, markets generally have a negative opinion on tariffs, and it's this uncertainty surrounding the tariffs and other government policies and decision-making that is creating these large swings back and forth in the markets. Questions about how much, how long, and what products are still on the table make it difficult for businesses to make long-term decisions in the short term, and very difficult for analysts to forecast company performance. So the challenge for investors today, especially for those who may want to jump out and cash out, is that when the markets do gain clarity again, the reaction could be very quick to rebound before you expect it. Now, this happened back in the pandemic in 2020 when the markets fell very sharply in February and March 2020. But even while we were still in the thick of the pandemic, a year later, the market had fully recovered. So this brings me to another chart that can identify the impact of when an investor cashes out and gets very conservative, the impact of what happens when they can miss the best opportunities. Let's say you had $1,000 in US stocks 25 years ago. How much would it be worth today? Over $10,000. But what if you missed the best performing week? Or missed the best month? Or you missed the best 3 months? Best 6 months? Or say you missed any of those. There's no proven way to time the market. So it's important to stay in your seat. Keep in mind that the tariffs and their implications on slowing economic growth could likely result in Canadian and US banks, or central banks that is, lowering interest rates further in order to balance out and boost the economy. So although tariffs will lead to a price increase in goods and services in the near term, central banks may look past this as transitory inflation due to its one-off nature, and it does not necessarily lead to ongoing inflation. Now let's talk about our country. The impact of these tariffs on the Canadian economy can be quite negative for our economy near term. However, this does open the door for Canada to make positive, transformative actions to become a strong, potentially global powerhouse by focusing on opportunities. Like we discussed during our recent client event with the VP of Research at the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada, Canada may use this challenge in the next election as an opportunity to improve regulation, energy independence, artificial intelligence leadership, resource development, and perhaps even building new global trade relationships. And with a new leader in Canada being announced next week, this could actually bring a fresh perspective and new relationship, and potentially an ability to negotiate a new free trade agreement. And in light of these developments, how are we positioning client portfolios? Well, we're following a smart risk investment strategy, and we have a plan to maintain diversification as always, while reviewing our portfolios on a weekly basis with our team in New York at Cirrus Research. We rank and filter thousands of companies on a qualitative and quantitative fundamental basis to take advantage of opportunities arising from the volatility. In today's volatile environment, characterized by tariffs, inflation concerns, changing interest rates, diversification is so important, and it's critical more than ever. And despite the current market pessimism, we are confident that long-term investors will remain well-positioned and continue to be rewarded for staying invested in the market and sticking to their strategic and their financial plan. In conclusion, by following our disciplined strategy and investment approach, we can navigate these uncertain times and position ourselves for long-term success. And as always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or my team at 778-655-2410. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If this video format is helpful or useful to you, your feedback is invaluable. And we appreciate, as always, the trust and commitment in our relationship. We look forward to hearing from you. Thanks and have a great day.